Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking about Carbon 3D going public, Blackwell setting up a new residential 3D printing project, and the Nano dimension getting a little bit of a shake-up, as well as talking about our new teleport updates and the Christmas season in general, finishing out with a talk about Dbrand. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by the Slant 3D Teleport app. The Teleport app allows you to connect your e-commerce 3D printing business to our giant 3D print farm so that you can get access to hundreds of machines to support your 3D printing business. All you have to do is sign into the app, connect it to your store, and then upload a model of the parts that you would like us to print. And then whenever an order comes through for that model, we will print it and ship it directly to your customer for you. That allows you to focus on design of new products without having to worry about the logistics and the hassle of running a print farm. Focus on creating new products and making your customers happy. Let everything else be taken care of by us. The Slant 3D Teleport app, you can find it at slantpod.com. Okay, moving into the news with going right into the Carbon going public. So Carbon 3D, if you guys are not familiar with them, they kind of burst onto the scene in 2014, and in 2016 they did they burst onto the scene in 2016, and they did in 2014 they were actually founded, but they created the first really high-speed resin 3D printers that were able to produce something in a while. Now it's more common than it used to be, but Carbon was really the first there. So Philip DeSimone was talking at Formnext with TCT, and that's where this interview is coming from. And there was a discussion about where Carbon was and what was going on. Joe, I'm not sure, is... wait a second. Phil DeSimone is Joe DeSimone's son. Joe DeSimone is at Stanford right now doing research. Phil is his son at the office of the CEO. So I'm not sure who the CEO of Carbon is right now. I'm unclear about that. But anyhow, they were there at Formnext and they were talking about it. Carbon was the first billion-dollar 3D printing startup back in the day. Who knows what they're worth right now? Obviously, everybody's taking a bit of a hit. So if anybody was worth $1 billion 4 years ago, they're probably worth maybe $100 million now, if even that, kind of across the board. I know a little bit about the numbers of Carbon 3D as of 2019, 2020. I have not deep dived on it since then. But at that time, for them to have $10 million in revenue sounds about right. But it's probably almost certainly more now. I would think it would be unreasonable to consider that Carbon 3D is a $100 million company right now, which is like a 10x of revenue. I would think they're more than that with the Adidas deal and Rydell and all. Well, the Rydell deal is for custom 3D. Okay. Carbon 3D makes the Adidas 4D shoes, the Rydell 3D printed football helmets, and a number of bike seats and that kind of stuff. So a lot of sporting gear. They also have done a baseball glove, a number of different things. So the resin 3D printing to create complex structures. They were very innovative in the space of lattices and that kind of work. And Carbon really does focus on the applications more than the machines. Their entire business model is actually to lease the machines so that you can use it to make whatever your part is. And then they focus most of their team on applications engineers. In the comments, they said, we have more applications engineers than we have salespeople. Yeah. Carbon has been, I would say, relatively quiet for the last 4 years. Doing the sporting goods stuff, but not really moving and shaking the way they did originally. But anyhow, the conversation came up about going public, and they said we had wanted to go public back in the high moment, back in 2020 when all the 3D printing companies were riding high. They wanted to go public then, but they must have started prepping a little bit late to where the market downturn started to whack them. Because all the 3D printing companies, Desktop Metal, Markforged, all of them, taken it in the teeth since then. So Carbon wants to go public in a while. They think it's going to be like a couple of years before that happens, before the markets in general kind of turn around. And when they do it, they're not going to be doing a SPAC. They want to do it the traditional sort of format, because SPACs have well, going public has gone out of fashion right at the moment, but SPACs have most certainly gone out of fashion with it all because there were just too many fast money shysters with that whole thing, kind of the way like NFTs did. But it was an interesting conversation. If you want to read the interview and the talking points over there, I recommend checking out TCT. But there was that one note that I wanted to pull out, which was actually kind of at the end. So it's a little bit of spoiler. It's all about more products, and we want to have everyone touch a 3D printed product every day. That's a really interesting statement. That's a very compelling statement. To have normal people touch a 3D printed product every day. That's something I identify with and really, really appreciate, because that's like what we've been fighting for here at Slant 3D. Like when we want people to be able to use 3D printed stuff every day. Find it at the store, use it all the time. In their case, they're mainly thinking about shoes and that kind of stuff. But the idea that this is something that somebody grabs off of a shelf and uses on the regular is cool, because that means that the material has come of age. Like I hang out with a lot of people who are aware of 3D printing and that kind of stuff, but I don't see people with a 3D printed object in their life. And admittedly, even myself, there's a restriction to like what I can have on me. We designed a wallet recently that I've been playing with. It's pretty cool, but it's tough because the places where 3D printing are useful are very function forward. So they're not very often a direct consumer product. They're very often solving a problem. Like, here's a tool, here's a jig, here's a vase or a piece of decor. I have decor and stuff around like my apartment for that kind of stuff. But it's not like on you. It's not like a watch band. And that needs to be done more. So anyhow, but yeah, carbon is coming around, getting talked about, all the things. Okay, next headline, also per TCT. Blackwell 3D to identify suitable location for 3D printed residential construction project in UAE, the United Arab Emirates. Has launched a self-funded feasibility study that aims to identify the most suitable locations. This is from a press release. Is hoping to select land in the UAE for large scale. Yeah. So we believe that our printer can become a game changer for large scale construction, offered unparalleled precision, efficiency. That's all freaking. It's our goal to complete this study in short order so that we can move to the operational and build out phase of our business plan. Our custom printer is expected to enable us to be able to deliver projects with unprecedented. Wow. They went from saying unparalleled precision to unprecedented precision. That might be a translation error, but okay, this 3D printed house company is looking for ground in the UAE to 3D print houses with. I'm not sure if they even have a machine yet. I am spying on them right now. See if I can get it pop up here fast enough. But anyhow, so that's that one. The 3D printed housing thing, we've talked about it a bunch of times before. It has a lot of legs. Like that is a really good spot to do a bunch of this stuff. There's plenty of problems with it, but it's the same problems that everybody else has around like design for the process. So it is really about some developer wanting to buy a bunch of these houses and just commit to it. Like, yeah, I want to use 3D printed houses rather than wood houses. And kind of run from there. That is the way to make that happen. But okay, next news. Nano Dimension CEO replaced on company's board after shareholder vote. So this is all interesting. Has been replaced on the company's board of directors. Stern will continue to serve as the company's CEO, but failed to gain approval for his reappointment to the board of Nano Dimension's annual general meeting last week. Nano shareholders voted to elect Ophir Baharav and Robert Pons to the company's board. After Murchison, an asset management firm owning 7.1% of Nano Dimension's outstanding shares, nominated the pair earlier this year. They will take the place of Stern and General Michael Garrett. So, in the there's a lot of stuff with this. So last week we talked about Murchison buying up a lot of interest in Nano Dimension. And he is an activist investor, and activist investors like to be active. and like to be involved. No idea what the intentions are right now. Nano Dimension has a ton of cash, is burning a ton of cash. They just tried to do, or they're in the process of doing 2 acquisitions for Desktop Metal and Markforged. Those deals aren't necessarily closed, and they're both expensive. An activist investor might come in and say, nah, we're not buying any other companies that are losing money. We're going to clean ourselves up and go from here. Because Nano Dimension has historically had good, Nano Dimension hasn't even had like radically incredible revenue generation. I think they're like 20 million a quarter. No, I think I'm not even sure what it is anymore. But they are, anyhow, having someone come in and replace Stern at this point is weird because Stern has been the face of Nano Dimension throughout all the drama over the last 2 years of trying to work with 3D systems and Stratasys and Desktop Metal and who knows what all the rest of it, and us too, and so on. For someone to, he is still the CEO, but he's not on the board. That seems like an early move. Seems like he might not continue to be the CEO. That would be a guess. That would be a prognostication. Who knows? This is not investment advice. This is shows for entertainment and education purposes only, so on and so forth. But to lose the board seat when you're the active sitting CEO who's been doing stuff, and to have an activist investor up their ownership and start getting active, who knows what will happen? But it seems like they might want to get involved to stop some of the things that have been going on. That's generally when somebody decides to get involved, kind of out of the blue, rather than getting right into it. So, okay then. That's the news. That's the 3D printing news for the week. Good stuff this week. Good scuttlebutt and all that kind of stuff. So now let's go ahead. Company updates. Okay. Teleport. Good stuff. Growing fast. Thank you all who have been signing up and using it, signing up to use it as well. We're working through it. The waiting list is getting longer faster than we're going through it. We are working really hard to get the onboarding process automated so that we can open it up to general signups. It's from a product design standpoint, it's really, really dangerous for a brand new product to give people open access to it, because the first impression is the first impression. And if you give people a blank sheet where they don't know what's going on, problems can happen. People can take the demo order and submit it incorrectly, or upload a file that costs $500 and then they're mad, and so on and so forth. Just the things can go wrong. So we're building out, and part of the onboarding stuff that we've been doing here with the first few hundred users has been observing and learning what the hangups are at first sign up, what people's concerns are, what is clear and unclear, and refining that tutorial process so that people can get onboarded on their own, and we know, oh, this is a sticking point, this is a sticking point, this is a sticking point, and then it can open up. We want to open it up fairly soon, though, quite bluntly, guys, short of a few special cases and that kind of stuff, at this point in the season, it's late to the season. Like, I'm filming this on the 11th. By the time this comes out on 14th, 15th, Christmas is done. Like, by the 20th, Christmas is all over and that kind of stuff. So even the people who are onboarded today have 4 days of Christmas. Now, there's been a number of users who have had the giant Black Friday spikes, and they've been using us for overflow, and we've tried to help out those people as much as possible. I mean, that's kind of the reason of Teleport. Anybody who has an immediate and like pressing need for it, we're trying to help. So that's where it is right now. Aside from that, let's see here, what else is going on? Teleport is there. We're refining it out. We're rebuilding the POD website, because the POD website, when it was first built, we anticipated, okay, we're going to end up having 10 apps for all the marketplaces out there. And this website will be the hub of all those apps. So there's Shopify, there's Etsy, there's Squarespace, there's whatever. But then we cracked Teleport to where could be this God app that will work with all e-commerce stores. And now we don't need that website set up for all the rest of it. So we're rejiggering stuff right now to get it all corralled again. So Teleport is the only app that's like publicly presented on the POD website right now because it's the only one you need. It's also where we're putting all of our development into. So again, if you're on the Etsy or the Shopify plugins right now, those are both totally fine. They function just fine. We're not going to abandon you or anything like that. But new features and all future development is going into Teleport. So that's the horse. That's the direction that we're going in. So the POD website is being focused entirely on Teleport. We will, so the site will continue to build out discussions around print on demand, business modeling, marketing tips, that kind of stuff. That's what we want that site and that content to be. And like the POD channel, all that stuff will continue to be discussions around 3D printing business. And how to grow and how to get it done. And then we'll go from there. Let's see here. As far as overall updates, right now, obviously a couple of weeks ago was Black Friday. The week after Black Friday is Hell Week. This season has been weird in kind of the dynamics of it because generally Black Friday is kind of like the peak and then stuff sort of levels out and starts to decline. From what we have seen, that has not really been the case this year. Most users and most kind of like advertising budgets, corporate guys and that kind of stuff had Black Friday, and then it kind of ramped up in sort of a linear fashion from November 1st to like now. It's a linear with the blips of Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Saturday, which is different. I have not seen that dynamic before in a Christmas season. But because the closer you get to Christmas, the less demand there is. But anyhow, that all being said, lead times are currently 5 days. If you have put a weird or bad part into any of our applications, we are working really hard to fix defective parts. And defective, I mean like in the design. Like the model wasn't solid, or whatever, the file needs fixed or whatever else it was. We're really working hard to not send somebody a box of spaghetti, even though they deserve it. Because people, the applications are garbage in, garbage out. If you upload an unprintable model, then it won't be printed. But we don't want people to have that experience with our products. So even if the part is unprintable, we will go in and try to do all we can to get it printed. And even if you're paying us freaking $5 to have it printed, we'll go in there and spend an hour cleaning it up or something, and 3 iterations or something, and we'll send you a note in your box saying, please fix this. But, so, those orders might be slightly delayed. Make sure your parts are printable when you upload them. That's the request, please. Everybody in the comments is now saying, why don't you get an auto checker and that kind of stuff on them? First of all, that's a whole different discussion. But the analysis of 3D objects for manufacturability is a problem equivalently hard to building a perception system on a humanoid robot. It's on par with that because it is understanding reality. It is understanding, is that strong, is that weak? Does gravity affect that in a good way, bad way? Is that what's intended or not? Are those parts close together, or is it just the mesh with a crease through the middle of them? Is that a hole? Is that a defective hole, or is it just a really thin slit designed to create like structure inside of the part? So automated softwares do not work. It is still necessary for humans to review the 3D models that are uploaded, as in the users, in order to make sure that they are printable and manufacturable. We can put in checks around it and that kind of stuff for simple things like overhangs and it's too big for the build volume and so on and so forth. All those things can be inside of there. But the evaluation system is an exceptionally difficult machine intelligence problem that has not been solved. Like who knows when it will be. We're working on different ways of like finagling it, but like it's just very difficult. So make sure you're uploading parts that maybe you have printed before. and then designed well, and you watch this channel and you know how to design for quality 3D printing. Okay. All right, the next topic, Dbrand. Oh, yeah, this was interesting. LTT, Linus did a tour of the Dbrand factory a couple weeks ago, and we wanted to talk about it because, first of all, we have a Dbrand-esque video in the works, which will be coming out in the future. It'll be a fun video. You guys will like it. But so that brought it up kind of to our attention. But then the Dbrand tour, looking at the Dbrand factory, that we did our own video about the 3D printing business model a week ago, which is about iteration and that kind of stuff. And watching Dbrand, their factory, their business model was identical to ours. They're a little lippier than we are, but only a little. So their marketing is different than us. But like functionally, how they go about product, they are about high product variation, which is make a skin for every phone. And then by using automated vinyl cutters, which are not really necessarily a mass production technology, they are able to produce a lot of these phone sleeves. And customize them as new phones come out and do special runs for certain influencers and that kind of thing. But their factory just has a bunch of vinyl cutters laid out that roll out the printed vinyl and produces the vinyl. But those vinyl cutters are not that dissimilar from a bunch of 3D printers that continually run off parts and shoot them out. But then what was even more interesting was that when Linus pulled off one of the like pre-cut templates or cutouts, and then he had to go through and pop out by hand the holes on every one of them because that was not automated. It could be automated, but it was not automated.
It isn't.
By the way, not to be a YouTube commenter to Dbrand, but an air jet. Get an air jet. Get just an air compressor on those desks. Or you could even get little high-speed air guns so that people could just run that sheet over them and it blows out all those holes. Unless you have little sprues on them. There you go. That's a thing for Dbrand. You can have that nugget for free. Long term, there's other ways of getting that stuff done in an automated fashion so that you don't have somebody spending 20 minutes popping out camera holes for a sleeve by hand, which was also very reminiscent of our factory because very complex parts that need support removal have to be removed by humans. We can't automate that kind of stuff. So it was just interesting to watch the Dbrand tour and kind of see behind the curtain because like it was very, very reminiscent of what we do. High mix, basically print on demand with volume attached to it for accessories and functional sort of things. And it was just interesting to see that. We should work with Dbrand. We should make something for them. Maybe that's what the video is about. It's coming out that it is. But that model, because here's the thing with those iteration types of models where you have really high mix production. If you believe that a better quality product has a higher probability of sales, then your goal as a business operator should be to improve your product quickly. That translates to work hard and make sure that you're doing loops of iteration. I don't want to get into the philosophy of hard work. We talked about that, and I've done rants on that before on the show. But there were comments on our 3D printing business model video that I understand in the context of which they were given, but I fully and entirely disagree with. There were, someone said, oh, you were all great until you said the work hard part, which sounded like a print-on-demand guru thing. I'm like, touche. There's a lot of 3D print gurus that say you just got to work hard, but here's the thing. Work hard does not mean shotgun at the wall. That is what everybody also misunderstands. The magic of 3D printing is not to try 50 bajillion different things. That's not the model. It is to start with an object, create variations of that object until you find the one that works. Do that test, and then create variations from the winner of that test. It is not scattershot. It is very focused evolution. When you have very focused evolution, That is a business model, because if the product is better, it will sell more. That is the business model that has a crank on it that you can turn. And then it turns into a decision of, do you turn that crank faster? Work hard. Do you spend an extra hour? Do you put in the extra time? That kind of stuff. When you have a business that is correct, as in you have a product that has demand, how do you want to increase demand? Improve the product. Therefore, start improving the iteration cycles, which means work. That's the way of doing it. Now, yes, print on demand has that exact same model. Create a shirt, put a picture on it, and then try 50 different pictures. But the difference is that those are 50 different pictures. There's almost no way to make them similar and say that one's got to scroll like that one's got to scroll like this, and this one converts higher. It is about testing and iterating. It is not about random experimentation. That is not what it is, because that will work you to death. That will have you working super hard and gaining nothing. This is focus. Working hard only works when you have focus and clear metrics. That is when you put the pedal to the metal and go as hard as you can possibly go, because that means you have a machine. If you have an iteration process, an experimental process, the only thing stopping you from getting to the answer is how quickly you run the test, which is how hard you work. More generically, how do you know if the product is going to be good or not? Well, somebody buys it. If one person buys it, 2 people will buy it. If 2 people buy it, 4 people will buy it. Brian Chesky, I brought this up before, but Brian Chesky had a really good comment about this. He's the CEO of Airbnb. And I think it's advice that he got from somebody. But he said, what we do is when we build the product for one person. Make that person happy, and then introduce another person to it. Make both of those people happy, then introduce another person to it. Make all 3 of those people happy. Have this really core, condensed, really happy group. Evolve the product as you add more people in, which does not mean adding features. It means adjusting to the different humans that are interacting with it. Iterate on it, get better for more people. And by the time you get to, this product is loved by about 100 people, that's when you can start kind of broadening out, which also inspires why we have a wait list on Teleport. We're working really hard to make sure all the existing users on Teleport have a really good experience. We onboard them. We do an e-commerce site review. We do all this stuff because we want people to be set up to succeed. So I help out with onboardings. A couple of the other team help out with onboardings. Like, we're all running through it. But when we do it, as we go through, we introduce you to the app and we say, here's how you upload, this is how you do this is a cool thing, here's the contact form, this is how you get a hold of us, that kind of stuff. So it's not a blank sheet. Because if you hand somebody a stack of pages and say, write a book, people are like, I don't know what to do with this, I'm not doing this. So we do the onboarding as a way to show people how to start writing on the page. And then as part of the onboarding, we also review their Etsy store or their e-commerce shop. And we just say, hey, you want us to take a look? We can give advice on your photos or your descriptions, some SEO. What do you want to do to increase sales? And that helps folks, along with the photography stuff that we're working on with Teleport and that kind of thing. In addition to that, while we ask questions and do a presentation, like I said, with each one of the onboardings, we're observing the user. I've been asked that question 3 times in the last 3 teleports. We need to clear up the app to make it more intuitive at that spot because people keep hanging right there. This is confusing folks. They don't know if that match is there or this is that, and they want pricing to show up in a little different spot, all these kind of stuff. So, those are all things that are going on within product design. But that kind of was meandering from Dbrand to product iteration to Airbnb to how we're doing onboarding at Teleport. But it's good because it's a case study with a little bit of theory in between, finishing off with a case study. So hopefully it's useful to folks. But I in my early part of my career, I underestimated the value of the first 10 users and the value of the first 100 users. Do not underestimate those. Same thing goes for subscribers or followers or any of the rest of them. When people say message your first 100 followers and that kind of stuff, you should. And those kind of things. The very simple actions when you're small stick. because people who use you at all when you're nothing are exceptional and should be taken good care of. I think that's about it, guys. Comment down below if there's any topics that you want us to cover videos on. If you want to stick around, the live stream will be starting up right after this. This goes out at 10, and I think live stream is at 11. So probably like a half hour from now, based on how long this podcast is. I'll be doing a live stream here as I do every week for this season. We don't know if it'll go all year, but it'll probably go forever. But yeah, we'll be doing a live stream where you can ask me questions about anything that's going on. And it's just a chat. There's no real agenda to it. It's just I turn on a camera and I talk to you. So come on by and enjoy your morning coffee with us. Have a great day, everybody.